According to Christian lore, around the year 40 AD, Jesus Christ sacrificed himself in order to negate the effects of a debuff that had been affecting humans since the talking snake incident in the Garden of Eden. Christ's sacrifice was widely received as a popular move, and as a result, many of his other philosophies received great acclaim. Among them, don't take tacky selfies giving money to poor people for Instagram likes. Don't abandon your ride or dies as soon as they need you to have their backs. And don't dunk on people who get caught doing the same thing you do when no one's looking. But some of his philosophies, while popular on paper, are either disregarded completely or so liberally interpreted that they lose their meaning. For example, consider the verse, "It is literally impossible for a rich person to get into heaven." Pretty much nobody has slowed his pursuit of cash money because of this verse. Not even Hygge, who made and then lost an entire generation of wealth between a random Tuesday and Thursday. $4.3 million of gains tossed into the lake of fire. Let us explore the captivating story of Hygge, a respectable Christian father who suffered a most frustrating fate, blinded by his own greed for green. According to the man himself, Hygge is a Wall Street Bets OG. Although he was just a lurker in the pre-GameStop days when Wall Street Bets was still good, our man cautiously joined in the 2021 GameStop squeeze hype train and made about $40,000. Being as cautious, or perhaps as private as he is, Hygge was largely silent on Wall Street Bets for the next year and a half, preferring instead to discuss religion, philosophy, culture, and basketball on a variety of other subreddits, like a normal, functioning adult. But that siren call from Wall Street Bets grew too tempting to ignore. Our man got sucked right back in when the collective voice of degenerates sung of massive fortune to be made by those who invested in the next dying retail chain. This time, it was Bed Bath & Beyond, a heavily indebted towel store on the verge of a moonshot. Hygge states that he was among the first to realize the massive potential of towels and beyond. According to him, it was in late July that he began eyeballing the BBBY and performing extensive DD, although what it is that switched him on to the towel company was never specified, based on his admiration for Ryan Cohen prior to the dump. I think it's a good bet that RC revealing his proposals for the company in the months prior wet Hygge's whistle. Nevertheless, the madman was clearly swayed by what he saw. As a relatively early degenerate to the party, the big shot was in prime position to score a huge bag. After his small initial purchase in mid-July, Hygge held tight while basically nothing happened to Bed Bath & Beyond. But over the following 2 weeks, the pious man's diamond hands held strong, and he extensively added to his position as Bed Bath & Beyond pushed to $13. By the time Hygge was done buying his initial position, he had 140,000 shares and approximately $120,000 worth of calls at the $10 strike expiring in January. In total, this initial investment cost him about $2.1 million. Now you may want to know, where did this $2 million come from? Hygge says he earned it. He also says he didn't go to college, so he's not a doctor or an engineer. And while you can certainly make big money in trades, he has a 2-year-old son, so he's probably, although not necessarily, too young to have decades of labor behind him. He also claims to have only made $40,000 on GameStop and lost money on crypto, so it didn't come as quick cash. It does indicate that his father died recently, so inheritance could be involved. However, that conflicts with his statement that he, quote, earned it. My best guess is that Hygge is involved in a lucrative industry that doesn't require a degree, like real estate or construction or adult entertainment, but that's just my guess. In any case, this certainly wasn't play money, and Hygge denies that it was a hand-me-down from daddy. Wherever it came from, it was most likely the result of substantial work. This YOLO was indeed a YOLO. With over $2 million already locked and loaded by market close on Monday, August 15th, His Majesty started eyeballing that $10 million figure. Paper-handed selling was not allowed. According to him, it was 8 figures or bust. Early in the morning on Tuesday, August 16th, Hygge awoke to the towel stock yeeting up to $16 in pre-market trading. From shares alone, El Jefe was up over $420,000, which is a positive omen for any meme stock trader. Although he didn't share his gain on the calls, my sleuthery of historical price data shows he likely made between $70,000 and $90,000 more based on his delta going up from 60 to 80 by market open. Just between Monday and Tuesday, the virtuous father burned his shot of fitting through the eye of a needle, close to $500,000 in gains overnight. But this 24% gain was small potatoes compared to what our man saw coming. According to his extensive DD, the hedge funds were in a desperate situation. He likens them to sharks who will target the retail traders' stop losses and short shares to drive the stock lower. But the hedge funds have a weakness. If Bed Bath & Beyond can sustain a market cap above $1 billion, then unspecified whales will scoop up shares and initiate a short squeeze, leading to major tendies for those with the courage to cannonball in. Right alongside all that would be the simultaneous death of the hedgies. In prophetic words, Higi recommends that traders go big or go back behind the Wendy's dumpster to continue their prior activities. Rather than downsize at market open, our man liquidated his position in some spaceship company called Space Mobile to buy another 10,000 shares of Towels Incorporated. But this bold move paid off for him. Throughout Tuesday, the sun shined shades of green and ginger as the stock flew beyond all expectations. Unlike anything we've seen since the glory days of GameStop, Towel Company burned its way from $16 to over $28. As the minutes ticked by, our hero edited his post to update us all on his gains. Adding yet another 10,000 shares, his position crossed 3 million, then 3.3, then 4, then 4.8, and then 5. By noon, Higi had made $2.9 million, an amount of money that takes people an entire career to amass, if at all. Our man achieved it in about 2.5 hours. To anyone with a brainstem, this is adequate. Most people would have been selling all the way up, but not our self-proclaimed baby whale. It was 10 million or bust, even talk of a $20 million target. He believed he was no more than halfway to his sell price. But it was that afternoon that Higi faced his first challenge. Bed Bath & Beyond had flown a little too close to the sun and began to precipitously drop through the afternoon, melting back off from 28 to 20. In that 4-hour block between noon and market close, our man lost almost $2 million worth of gains. He was back down to $1.1 million of profit. Still not bad for a Tuesday. But instead of joining the profit taking, he called it a 20% off special, limited time only. And wouldn't you know it, the motherfucker was right. By market open on Wednesday the 17th, the Bed Bath & Beyond Thrive Tribe went all hands on deck and drove the stock to back over $24. Higi's buying power appeared somewhat exhausted, but he did buy another 4,000 shares for good measure. It was back to the races. The king was in full euphoria as his position sailed back to over 5.5 million. He professed his belief that the stock would moon as much as 100% through Friday, knocking out hedge funds and bringing him to his treasured $10 million target. He even tried to lead GameStop apes into temptation by promising massive gains that they could reinvest into GameStop should they only join Towel & Co. for the next 2 days. It is unclear if he was able to Pied Piper anyone. Nonetheless, the stock shot up without looking back, all the way to exactly $30. Higi posted his positions continuously and received great acclaim, as his account crested $6 million for the first time. There was no stopping him. Or was there? Perhaps clairvoyantly, it was on that very Wednesday morning that Higi predicted that Bed Bath & Beyond would not drop below Tuesday's close of $20, unless Ryan Cohen himself unloaded. He believed this was unlikely, as it would destroy the man's reputation as an activist investor and ruin any plans he had for the company. But by that afternoon, news reached the public that RC had decided that his reputation was worth its 30 pieces of silver, valued at about $68.1 million of gains. So close. Ryan Cohen had filed a Form 144, fulfilling his legal requirement to sell stonk. In this case, to dump his entire stake of Towels Incorporated. The irony, perhaps, is that Ryan Cohen filed this form on Tuesday and it reached public record by 5:08 a.m. on Wednesday. 4 hours later, Higi was on Wall Street Bets professing that RC wasn't going to sell. Although RC had already filed his 144, the tabloids didn't pick up the news until midday. By then, retailers had already spent all morning blindly piling back in and pushing the stock to $30. And just this once, the hedge funds with more access to info probably did start shorting aggressively while they had their morning coffee, because they knew what was coming. Once the news started reaching the masses, the meltdown that followed was merciless. Does filing a 144 mean RC sold? Is he doing it for flexibility? Does he do this quarterly? Others speculated that RC must sell his Bed Bath & Beyond stake in order to spin off its Bye Bye Baby stores. It didn't help that precisely 0 people on all of Wall Street Bets had ever heard of a Form 144 before, so no one knew what the hell they were talking about. The uncertainty that surrounded was enough to spook people into not becoming bag holders. Traders across the country dumped shares like hot coals, and the stock plummeted quickly back to $22 and ended the day near its low. In those few hours, about $3 million of Higi's gains had evaporated. Higi and others tried to rationalize this as a short attack or a necessary pullback. He even tried to encourage GameStop and AMC investors to invest in Bed Bath & Beyond to fight the hedgies. But ultimately, it appears these arguments failed to convince. Notably, our man commented seldom on Wednesday after the drop began. According to him, he was limited by Wall Street Bet's mods, such that he could only post once per day, and so moved to the Bed Bath & Beyond sub, which by this time had exploded in its own right. But the news did not improve overnight. By pre-market Thursday morning, the press was buzzing with reports that Papa Cohen intended to Judas. Higuier dismissed the articles describing RSC's selling plans as misinformation from unreliable sources. He even desperately reached out to his lordship, Deep Fucking Value, twice to beg for a tweet that could rally the troops against the short sellers. I don't want to be too judgmental, but when you've continuously posted on Wall Street Bets and Bed Bath & Beyond subreddits until midnight, and then you start posting again at 3 o'clock in the morning, begging your hero to intervene in your case, then you've already fucked up. That's 3 hours of sleep max, and you're too emotionally involved in this thing. DFV does not care at all about Bed Bath & Beyond, and he's not going to tweet for you. Despite all evidence, Higuier remained convinced that the week would end green. He conjured images of Gandalf riding into battle to crush the orc hedgies and save the bag holders. I made a snap video that no one watched telling people that RC will indeed sell, but my pre-market publish was already too late. The ones who intended to diamond hands were already convinced that RC dumping was actually a good thing. Traders were waiting for their hero. If Gandalf were to intervene, he'd have his work cut out for him. According to user Suddenly Salad, Bed Bath & Beyond touched $11 at around 5 a.m., a 50% drop from Wednesday's close, but I have no record of the stock actually going that low. Instead, Higuier chimes in to state that he was now in the red by $1 million, but remained unfazed. He anticipated a huge rally back into the week's end. He was a true diamond-handed whale. But here's something to know about diamonds. Despite the marketing gimmick, diamonds do not last forever. Given enough heat and pressure over time, diamonds will decay into graphite, a brittle, fragile configuration of carbon. For pure diamonds, this heat and pressure needs to stay on for 100 million years to cause this decay. But for Higuier's diamond hands, the heat and pressure took only 3 hours. Around 8 a.m., our man had enough. He published his final manifesto as he raised the white flag of surrender. His initial $2 million investment raised to $3.2 million total when he liquidated his satellite company holdings to add more Bed Bath & Beyond. Had crested $6 million on Wednesday when the stock shot to 30. And here on Thursday morning, the tragic hero closed for what he initially believed was a $1.1 million loss. After his final body count, he recorded an actual $2 million loss. His life-changing gains were gone. Instead, he faced a life-changing loss. He started the week with about $3.2 million to his name and rode it to over $6 million. He ended the week with just over $1 million. His emotional monologue can be difficult to read. Higuier described feelings of humiliation, despair, and betrayal, but he sprinkled his tirade with words of encouragement, saying he was proud of his family, his faith in God is unshaken, and life goes on. He also issued a warning to hedge funds. He says, "We can survive on nothing. We often have almost nothing to lose. We can recover when we hit a full-blown loss. Can you? Someday it will be our turn. Be ready. From what I've seen these past few days, your enemy, us, is formidable in ways you truly don't understand. You got lucky at the very moment before we kicked you off the cliff. Next time, don't count on it." In my opinion, this is one of the worst counter dunks I have ever seen in my entire life. I know you just took $2 million from me, but I'm cool with it. Enjoy my money, loser. I'm sure the short sellers are absolutely trembling. However, I do appreciate Higuier taking his L with pride and asking Wall Street Bets commenters to offer words of encouragement to others who suffered. But there is an important lesson here. Higuier is the quintessential example of what happens when you get too emotionally attached to a stock. There is no retail war against hedge funds. Deep Fucking Value is not a mystical hero who will save you in the 11th hour from your bad trading. We are not Legion. We are, by our own admission, a bunch of degenerate gamblers talking on Reddit. When you make millions of dollars by the grace of God, at least pull out your original investment so you don't take an overall loss. And please get the $10 million figure out of your head. I've seen that several times on Wall Street Bets, where someone makes $2 million and suddenly they think another 5x is easy. Even if you make $500,000 a year, a $2 million gain is 4 years of salary. Buy $2 million of dividend stocks and then continue your gambling activities with the rest. My Monday morning quarterbacking aside, this was a ride for the ages. If you're wondering what became of our man Higuier, his most recent post was from September 21st, when he explained his bullish thesis on ASTS Space Mobile. This is the same stock that he sold to buy more Bed Bath & Beyond, and has since returned to it with his remaining $1 million. His position shows an entry of 106,000 shares at about $8.50 each, totaling $920,000. If he still holds today in November, he's down to $728,000. Since Hagee has since gone dark, it's unclear if he's still in. No matter how you slice it, this roller coaster is a story that shall go down in infamy. Champion of Cyrodiil, it is my honor to bestow upon you the crown of degeneracy. May your name live forever.
Who wants to be king?
Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to join our free Discord where Theta Gang can show you how to not wreck your life with options. Check the invite in the description and get on board. I'll see you there.